Prince Charles have launched a blistering attack on the royal drama The Crown, accusing the streaming giant Netflix of trolling on a Hollywood budget and exploiting the royal family's pain for financial gain.
Well, despite the criticism, the show's creator Peter Morgan, whose fourth series covers Charles's doomed marriage to Princess Diana, her eating disorders and his affair with Camilla Parker Bowles, says you sometimes have to forsake accuracy, but you must never forsake the truth, which seems an interesting contradiction in terms. Joined by the royal biographer Angela Levin, who says the drama is unfair to everyone in the royal family, and to Paul Burrell, Princess Diana's former royal butler, who believes The Crown is a fair and accurate depiction. So, Paul Burrell, it's interesting. I mean, it's fantastic watching. I've got to be honest with you. Loved it. But I had two thoughts as I was watching it all yesterday. My first thought was, yeah, it's great for us, but my God, if you're one of the royals and the way that some of them are portrayed, whether it's Princess Margaret or the Queen or Philip or, you know, particularly Charles and Diana, it's brutal in parts. And they're real people, they're real lives.
Well, sometimes, Piers, truth is stranger than fiction. And I've been there. I've been behind those doors. I've seen it happen. I saw it unfolding. And there is an element of truth which runs through The Crown, like it or not. It's not easy watching. Sometimes it's upsetting, for me particularly. But there is truth in there. And of course, Prince Charles's people want to squash it. And of course, the palace want to squash it. But what do we do then? Do we sanitize our royal family and only give you a censored version of the truth of what happened?
OK, let me give you one example, Paul, where if I'm Prince Charles, I'd be like, wow. Well, just it's one little bit that I thought it really resonated with me was he had this extraordinarily close relationship with Lord Mountbatten, who was, of course, murdered by the IRA. And the Crown has basically invented a letter that Lord Mountbatten sends Charles being very critical about his lifestyle. Now, there's no record of that letter ever being sent. Charles was utterly heartbroken by the murder of his great favoured uncle. And that, to me, that crosses a line to me, where if you're inventing a critical letter from someone who's now dead and can't respond, and there's no evidence of that letter ever being sent, what justification would there be for that?
Well, there is none, but this is a dramatisation. It's not a documentary of the royal family. It's a screenplay. And I think what Peter Morgan's tried to do, and sensitively tried to do, is align fact with his screenplay. He's fed through his screenplay things that actually did happen. And, of course, it is a detective story. We've got to find out what is the truth and what isn't the truth. Luckily, I know what the truth is.
Yes,
and
but
because,
Paul, you're in a unique position because you were there. But for somebody like me who's watching from the outside, I mean, for instance, knowing that the letter doesn't exist and was probably never written from Lord Mountbatten to Prince Charles, then makes me think, hang on a moment, when Margaret Thatcher went with Dennis to go and stay at Balmoral and is depicted as being out of place and uncomfortable and criticised by the royal family and sort of frosted out by the Duke of Edinburgh. Do I believe that? Did that visit even happen? And now, of course,
I think you have to... Yes, the visit did happen.
Yes, the visit did happen, and it's really interesting to me, the relationship between the Prime Minister at the time and the Queen. It's a critical relationship, but I can't trust the way that's being told as a story.
Well, I can tell you how it happened, because the Queen did find it difficult with the Prime Minister in the very beginning because she was a woman. And all other Prime Ministers sat beside her at their briefing, and Margaret Thatcher was told to sit beside the Queen. When she came into the audience room, I was there, I saw it, the Queen said, oh, good evening, Prime Minister, and please sit here. She sat opposite the Queen. So that did happen, and that was shown in The Crown. So I don't think you can take just one thing from The Crown and say that's wrong. You have to take it as a big picture.
No, but my point is, Paul, I'm not sure. I mean, I'd love it if you came and sat next to me on the sofa and can tell me this is true and this is not true.
This would be the ultimate goggle box where we sit with Paul Burrell and he goes, that happened, that didn't happen.
Well, absolutely. I don't know what's true, what's not, and I feel a bit robbed.
Well, before we bring in Angela, one point I would say to you, Paul. When I had lunch with Diana and William, and you were there, you were serving the food. And by the way, you did it very well. You were an excellent butler. But when I was discussing it, and I discussed the Queen with her, and I remember her telling me quite firmly that the Queen had been really great, really supportive and a good listener. Now, the Queen in this series of The Crown comes over as very cold, unfeeling, totally devoid of any empathy towards Diana. That's not what Diana told me about the way the Queen had been.
I haven't seen the full series yet, so I don't know what happens. It's true, the Queen was very supportive of Diana, as was Prince Philip. They did not condone Charles's relationship with Camilla Parker Bowles. They didn't like it. Philip wrote to Diana and said to her, "Mama and I do not condone this relationship. We cannot understand for the life of us why Charles would choose Camilla over you." Philip's words, truth. See, the truth has to come out, and the truth will come out. You will see it all in graphic detail in The Crown. I'm loving it because I'm seeing history being played out again.
Well, Angela Levin, are we seeing history being played out, or are we seeing Peter Morgan's? And by the way, Peter Morgan, I had dinner with him last year or so ago. He's a fascinating, brilliant man. I mean, he brings this stuff to life in a way I've never seen anyone do. He's a genius in a way. But I don't think even he would claim to be a historian necessarily. No. He's a storyteller about these moments in history.
I've been bursting here. I mean, Peter Morgan has actually admitted that he made up the letter from Lord Mountbatten to Prince Charles. And I think it's pretty disgusting to do that over the death of someone who was so much loved. I think the programme stinks, actually. I think it's a deliberate attack on the monarchy and the royal family. It's spiteful. I think it just goes for people's negative points rather than their positive ones. It's unbalanced. Of course, it's like a sort of golden apple. The inside is rotten. And I think that it's very, very unfair to the royal family. I think when it's...
Now, Angela, let me jump in. Let me play devil's advocate with you. And by the way, I played it with myself yesterday when I wrote a column about this. I'm not going to take the high moral ground on people dissecting the lives of the royals and gorging on the entrails of all their private stuff. Because
that's your meat and drink.
I did it myself as a tabloid editor for years. You, Angela, have made a lot of money and success in doing it by being a royal commentator doing really what Peter Morgan's doing, haven't you?
I don't know what you're saying. I'm not a Peter Morgan in any shape or form. But what I'm saying is that I think if you don't know where you are with this documentary, you don't have a Paul Burrell sitting next to you to explain. And I think
it's not a documentary, Angela, is it? That's my point. It's not a documentary. It's somebody giving his version of what he thinks happening. He says it may not be entirely accurate. Well, Angela, let me finish my question. It says it may not be entirely accurate. Angela, let me finish. It may not be entirely accurate, but it portrays a wider truth, is what he says.
Yes, but if you say that the fact about Diana having bulimia, being bulimic and being sick, the actress wanted that to go into the programme. I've not heard many actresses who demand what the producers does, but there we are. And she felt it had to be realistic. So we are brainwashed to think that the realism of Diana vomiting into a toilet makes the whole thing more truthful. I didn't mean a documentary in the way that you think of them nowadays, but it's pretending to be truthful.
Yeah, but on that, Angela, OK, let me bring in Paul Burrell again, because I actually had a 90-minute phone conversation with Diana about her bulimia. She'd been to an eating disorder clinic and met some people suffering from it. And she decided to get as she put it, the truth out there. I didn't quote her directly. She actually gave it to me almost like third party. But, you know, she talked to me through the whole thing. That part of it was true.
Well, but Angela's point is that that part of it was true.
But my point...
And if you're going to honour that accuracy, why aren't you honouring the accuracy elsewhere?
I get that. Because I would say a lot of it... My point being, a lot of it is true. And back to Peter Morgan's overview, which is, look, not every single thing is 100% accurate. I've dramatised certain stuff. But the broader brushstrokes here are true. I think that is probably right.
Yes, it's right. You're right, Piers. The princess wanted to speak about bulimia. She spoke about it herself. And she wanted that issue to be out there. It was very controversial at the time. It's shown in The Crown. I think it's a very good thing for people out there to bring this nervous disorder to the fore again and to discuss it. The Crown is actually causing lots of conversation. And I think that's a good thing, to discuss our royal family and to see some of the flaws inside there. He's been very respectful, actually.
What about
to the
this,
Queen.
though? What about this? Well, I'm not sure he's been that respectful. Some of it is like hide behind the sofa time. But let me ask you this, Paul. What about Prince Harry here? Because Prince Harry is a member of the royal family. This is his family. No. This is his mum and dad.
His granny.
This is his grandparents. This is his great aunts. He's just signed a humongous deal with Netflix, who are putting out The Crown. Now, I wrote a pretty, sternly worded column yesterday for the Daily Mail pointing out, is there not a shocking hypocrisy here? This is a bloke who goes around every minute of the day screaming about privacy for his family. And yet here you have the most intrusive TV drama ever made about the royals, spilling all the gory details about his parents and their marriage and so on. And there's Harry taking the money from the hand that is doing all this stuff.
Well, the Crown hasn't just been made; it's in its third, fourth season. So, he knew what he was doing. He knew what contract he was signing with Meghan. He knew he was getting into bed with Netflix, who made this this drama about his family. He's not a silly man. He knows that.
Angela, you spent
out of step.
You spent a long time with Prince Harry, didn't you, in recent years? When this show is accused of trolling on a Hollywood budget, why would he do that deal with the same company?
Well, I think he's made a terrible error. I think in the way that he's left the royal family, the way he did it, and he's changed. He's almost unrecognisable from the Prince Harry I spent a lot of time with. But I think, Meghan is desperate to earn lots of money. Netflix offered them something, but I think they're being naive, as they have been about lots of things, in that they don't realise that a big company like Netflix is going to want its pint of blood, and they're going to delve in and get a lot of information that will absolutely decry the royal family. I think the royal family does a lot for us. Of course, they've got loads of faults, haven't we all? But the sense of duty that Prince William has now, and Prince Charles, I spent a year with Prince Charles before his 70th birthday. I was astonished how many young people he'd helped to get off the streets and into work.